ago, they were on opposite ends of a criminal case, a suspect, a detective, and now...
Linda's a dear friend.
As we near Labor Day, a look at what's going on with labor in Colorado. Where are we with job recovery? With booster shots on the horizon for vaccines, what will fully vaccinated mean? And it's Friday, and that means we've got the scoop on good news. Sorry about the pun, I had to. Your favorite flavor of news is next. A lot of business owners who eagerly waited to put up their open for business signs are now also putting up "we're hiring" signs or "we're closed because we just don't have enough staff" signs. We've talked about staffing shortages around Colorado, but how does it compare to previous years? What does it really tell us about the economic recovery? Anusha Roy takes a look.
It's a good start right now.
Business at Comida in the Stanley Marketplace is healthy.
And the level of business, which has been enormous and amazing.
Which is why it was so demoralizing when Colorado opened up.
The most common, simple things like spoons. Really hard to get right now.
But Comida scaled back because they didn't have enough staffing.
We're busier than we've ever been, and to choose to close for 2 days was the right decision, but a decision I never thought I would have to make.
Comida's owner, Rami Rosello, has worked in restaurants for decades and said she has not faced this kind of situation. And despite all of the "we're hiring" signs, the state shared this graph of online job openings. It shows numbers comparable to 2018 and 2019. And while the numbers come with their own caveats, including the potential for duplication, the state said it's the best set of data it has.
It was an extremely tight labor market. That, our unemployment rate was below 3%. We have historically low unemployment rates. Even up to February of 2020, the unemployment rate was historically low for the state at 2.8%. This was on the tail end of a 10-year economic expansion.
When that happens, there's pressure to pay people more, which can translate to more demand for services, goods, and the need for more employees.
However, this current pandemic is a totally different situation.
Colorado lost around 375,000 jobs in March and April of last year, tanking leisure and hospitality employment numbers to a level the state hasn't seen since 1992.
There's a tremendous hole or gap to fill there.
With the virus, businesses across the board took hits at the same time and then opened up at around the same time. And that means employers are all fighting for the same pool of people, while a lack of affordable housing, childcare, and the spread of the Delta variant are all still factors.
So the state said that there are definitely sectors, right, like the restaurant and the hospitality industries that are really struggling with filling these positions. But they've also seen Colorado in general add around 100,000 jobs from December through July. And what's also really an interesting dynamic is that Colorado is actually seeing a higher pace of people looking to go back to work, but the state's unemployment rate is still higher than the national numbers. That could be because people who are looking for jobs haven't landed the right one yet. And Jeremy, this isn't just about those who are unemployed. It's also about people who are maybe looking to switch careers or for a new opportunity. And so it's just this really complex pool of people that are looking to move around here in Colorado.
And as we're going to talk about here in a bit, federal benefits are about to end here. I would imagine that would have an impact.
Yeah, and so we were asking everyone that we talked to today about that. And yes, some people are hoping maybe this will open up those who want to go back to work or applying for jobs. But both the state and the Colorado Restaurant Association said that there are these preliminary studies and indications in other states that it didn't actually move the needle as much as expected. But they also said only time will tell how that plays out here in Colorado.
All right, Anusha, thank you very much for that report. As we just talked about that, tens of thousands of people in Colorado are losing those federal benefits this weekend. PUA, PEUC, and FPUC benefits expire tomorrow. That includes the extra $300 weekly supplement as well. The Colorado Department of Labor and Employment estimates that more than 100,000 people in Colorado will be impacted. One important thing to know here, any money left in unemployment accounts cannot be claimed after Saturday. This stage of the pandemic is starting to feel a little familiar. Just about everyone in Boulder County is now required to wear masks in indoor public spaces as of today. Boulder's Board of Health implemented a new mask rule for anyone older than 2, regardless of vaccination status. Boulder is currently under the highest level of transmission, and a lot of Colorado is on edge as to what may happen next. I sat down earlier with Director of Reporting Chris Vanderveen to discuss that. Now more than 500 days into this pandemic, and the Delta variant continues to impact things. Chris Vanderveen here with me now. Where are we at right now this week?
It's all Delta in the state of Colorado, and we're sort of stuck right now when it comes to cases. We have about 1,500 cases. We've been at that for about the last week or so. Hospitalizations are still going up. We're seeing around 800 patients in the hospitals right now that are COVID positive. Keep in mind, a year ago at this time, we were at about 117, so we're much higher than we were just 365 days ago.
This is a tough situation for schools here, though, isn't it?
It's a brutally difficult situation for schools. A lot of schools are going to have a really challenging time over the course of the next few weeks. We're already seeing it in schools right now, that schools are really having a hard time, not just with kids, but with staff members and teachers. And we've seen some schools have to close for a couple of weeks because they simply don't have the staff available to keep that school up and running in person. This is a challenge, Jeremy, for schools because everyone wants to stay in school right now. The problem is that the virus is going to dictate what it wants to do, particularly when it gets inside of a school. And while kids may not be getting very sick, a lot of cases in a school is going to be alarming, not just for the district, but for parents in particular. We're already seeing that happening in El Paso County and a case just last night here in Denver.
One final question. It's now September. We're getting closer to the colder months. What can we expect for the fall?
I think there's a worry about what we can expect to see. We're already at an elevated case. As I said, a year ago at this time, we had a little around 115, 117 patients in hospitals. Right now, we have around 800 in Colorado hospitals. While that's manageable, we're much higher than we were a year ago. And the expectation is, from a lot of public health officials, is that it's going to get a little worse before it gets better, and there is considerable concern about what it means come November and December. That's when we saw our big spike last year.
All right, something to always watch. Thanks, Chris.
You bet.
Tonight's next question comes from a viewer named Mary. She wants to know if the definition of fully vaccinated will change once booster shots are widely available. Will you need 2 shots plus a booster shot to be considered fully vaccinated? Is a very good question, Mary. The short answer is we don't know yet. Colorado's Department of Public Health and Environment says they're not sure how or if the definition of fully vaccinated will change. The state says it will fall in line with federal guidance on definitions. The state expects to learn more in the coming weeks. If the FDA and CDC give the green light to booster shots for eligible Americans, President Biden hopes that will happen before September 20th.
Hey everybody, a quick thank you to everyone who is supporting this week's Word of Thanks micro giving campaign. You've raised nearly $20,000 for the nonprofit We Don't Waste. We Don't Waste looks to solve 2 problems in our community at once: picking up unused food from restaurants and quickly getting it to other community serving nonprofits, as well as a series of mobile food pantries around our community. They're hoping to raise $50,000 with your help to set up another one of these mobile food pantries and operate it for an entire year in our community. Text THANKS to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of other people in supporting We Don't Waste. Thanks so much.
Friendships don't usually start like this.
She was an adversary. She was there to do me harm.
But their bond formed through exoneration. And times were much simpler in 1921, unless you wanted a drink. A former Denver police officer found out the hard way. Plus, Labor Day weekend, ice cream, and happy people. A recipe for good news. Next. For two close friends in northern Colorado, their relationship got off to a rocky start. More than 30 years ago, both were connected to a high-profile murder case, but in very different ways. Crime and Justice reporter Matt Jablow shares their story.
He is so gentle for his size.
Yeah.
Listening to two old friends swapping horse stories on a lazy summer day.
Is this their pellets for the day?
Next to the foothills in Loveland.
So what's your thoughts on alfalfa?
I don't do alfalfa.
It's hard to imagine their relationship wasn't always this comfortable and caring.
Linda's a dear friend.
But it wasn't. Not nearly.
She wasn't somebody that I looked to in a friendly nature at all. This was my adversary.
On February 11th, 1987, 37-year-old Peggy Hetrick was found in a field in Fort Collins. She had been stabbed to death.
I remember the initial shock of seeing something in the field.
15-year-old Tim Masters was quickly identified as the prime suspect.
I was part of the neighborhood canvass.
After Detective Linda Wheeler Holloway learned that Tim had walked by the body on his way to school, but did not report it to police.
I went, okay, he needs to be interviewed.
And he was, for about 9 hours, during which Tim told detectives he thought the body was a mannequin. He told the same story every time police questioned him over the next few years. In 1992, Linda and another detective interrogated Tim for about 12 hours.
He never swayed at all in his explanation of what happened.
She came away thinking she had the wrong guy, beginning her transition from adversary to ally.
I was an experienced homicide investigator. I just didn't see a guilty man looking back at me.
Linda left the Fort Collins Police Department in 1995. 3 years later, Tim was arrested. At the prosecution's request, Linda testified at the trial, even though she openly questioned their case. Tim was convicted and sentenced to life in prison.
I remember my stomach falling out and just another completely surreal, shocking moment in my life.
6 years later, haunted by Tim's conviction.
I feel like my interest in my fight for this case started the day he got convicted.
Linda went to work as a private investigator alongside Tim's new lawyers.
I knew that the truth had not come out.
It would take several years, but thanks to DNA evidence, the truth emerged, and Tim's conviction was vacated.
And orders the release of the defendant.
In 2008, after nearly 10 years behind bars, he walked out of a Larimer County courtroom a free man, with Linda close behind.
I just want to thank my family and my friends who stuck with me all these years.
You guys are spoiled, absolutely spoiled.
13 years later, Tim and Linda are still very much stuck together. They talk on the phone frequently and see each other a few times a year. Birthdays for sure.
Good Lord.
They share a love of horses and the outdoors, and so they just like spending time together and catching up on each other's lives. Given that they met on opposite sides of a murder investigation, they're well aware their friendship is a most unlikely one.
We've been friends for so long now, it seems kind of normal to me. I know it's not, but it seems normal.
But whether it's normal or not, Tim and Linda both say it's incredibly strong. A friendship, they insist, built to last a lifetime.
He's sensitive, and he's considerate, and just a kind, nice human being.
They're cool horses, though, Linda. Linda's a good person. She's a lifelong friend at this point. Do you have a lot of eagles here?
A lot.
In Loveland.
Both bald and golden.
Matt Jablow.
Oh, wow.
9 News.
Yeah.
Peggy Hetrick's murder remains unsolved. Linda is now working on the case for the Cold Case Foundation, a nonprofit organization that investigates unsolved violent crimes. On this day 100 years ago, it cost hundreds of dollars for a drink. This article explains why. And usually there's live trucks at 500 Spear Boulevard, but today it was an ice cream truck.
My good news is free ice cream on a Friday.
It's good news from 9 News. Next.
Some really strong storms on the south side of the metro area earlier this afternoon, bringing hail, gusty winds, and torrential rain. This was a shot Katie snapped earlier in Highlands Ranch. Look at some of these hail reports. Highlands Ranch, Lakewood, Chatfield, Reservoir, CARYL, Evergreen, all dealing with it. Now tonight, that line of severe thunderstorms tracking across our eastern plains. A lot of lightning, heavy rain, but for now, I-25, you are good to go. As we zoom in, you can still see a few isolated showers moving across the foothills. Tonight, most of the action moves to the eastern corner of the state, and then by 8 a.m. tomorrow, it's a quiet beginning. Maybe one or two isolated storms in the afternoon, but they will be few and far between compared to today. Daytime highs stay in the low 80s for us in the metro, 60s, 70s up in the high country, but the heat is on as we look ahead toward Labor Day.
It has been so long since we've done a random Colorado history segment. I figured since I'm now here in the present on Next, let's do another look back at our past. I always find these tidbits by randomly looking at historical Colorado newspaper archives from exactly 100 years ago to today. So let's turn the pages in the Colorado Statesman. This little blurb jumped out at me from September 3rd, 1921. It reads, Lewis Titus, formerly a member of the Denver police force, was sentenced in jail and fined $300 for possessing liquor. Of course, during this time in history, Prohibition was just beginning and wouldn't be lifted until 1933. I did a little inflation calculation here. Lewis's fine would be about $4,500 in today's dollars. Gosh, I bet that hit Lewis really hard. That's like more than 600 six-packs of beer today. Poor Lewis. He lived in the wrong time. Some consider this last Friday of the summer season. It's bad news for some, but there's still some good news to tell. That and your viewer feedback are next. For our 262nd installment of Good News, we didn't have to go far. An ice cream truck stopped by our newsroom today, so from the people who bring you the news, we share our good news.
My good news is free ice cream on a Friday.
Thank you so much.
My good news is I got a new sticker for my Subaru.
My good news is that today is my birthday, and I feel like every birthday is a reason to celebrate making it another year.
Happy birthday!
My good news is that my folks are in town, and somebody that I'm very looking forward to seeing will also be arriving this weekend.
My good news is Half Day Friday.
Where is the rum raisin?
My good news is that it's raining, so that means I don't have to water my plants.
My good news is it's First Friday, and I plan on going to the art walk.
My good news is my little sister is having a baby, and she's due in January, and we're really excited.
How would you describe me as a 58-year-old?
My good news is it's Labor Day weekend. My birthday is on Tuesday. Going to a really nice dinner with my family. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
So many great faces there. Now let's get to some viewer feedback here from Susan. Says, Kyle Clark can take a hike. I'll watch and listen to Jeremy Hohola anytime. Better and refreshing attitude. Oh boy, that stings against Kyle, but you know what? I'll take it. Take a hike, Kyle. All of you guys have a great weekend this weekend. Happy Labor Day. Take some time with your families. Thank you for watching.